meeting of the Providence School Board for January 2024. We have a relatively very brief agenda tonight. We hope to be able to get to it quickly. So we have a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion. Second.
So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any oppositions? The ayes carried. Consent agenda 3.0. Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any oppositions? The ayes carried. So we have one contract today, 4.1 rights engineering, and the Kazarian here to talk us through that.
Good evening. I am Peter Kazarian, Deputy Director of Facilities for Providence Schools. And what you have before you is a request for approval to make modernization improvements and energy efficiency changes at 5 schools for lighting improvements. We've done this in partnership with the Rhode Island Department of Energy, OER, in conjunction with the Rhode Island Energy for incentives. And we're very happy to bring to the board actually a no-cost scenario. So we're going to get about 1.499, 1.5 million improvements at the 5 schools. And we have them listed, I believe, in the actual summary form. And also have a spreadsheet format, which can make it a little more readable. But it includes, as I said, 5 schools. It is Mount Pleasant High School, which of course we know we have quite a bit of work to do there, and I can explain that further detail as well as how it relates to this proposal. Roger Williams Middle School, Feinstein at Sackett Street, A Venture on Branch Avenue, Nathaniel Green Middle School, and the total cost, as I said, was 1.499 million. It is completely funded between Rhode Island Energy and the Office of Energy Resources, OER, in Rhode Island. So we have done this. This is actually phase 2 in this format before. We're looking at future options as well to continue going through all the schools, modernizing all the lighting. So we'll be taking everything, some of them are LED to newer LEDs and all the fluorescents and bringing those all to LED also. So it'll be state of the art across the whole school system when we're done. It will take a while, but OER has made a commitment to us to fund these programs and make up all the added costs over the incentives. So we are basically managing the project, we're managing the cash flow, and we get reimbursements on a timely basis from OER to fill in the cost of the invoices. So we can generally get them done pretty quickly, and there's no cash flow issues for the public schools.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Is this contract part of the school lighting accelerator program?
It
that
is.
was rolled out last year?
It is, yes. And I believe it's more focused on the urban areas of the
Yes.
schools in the state, and that is what we're pursuing.
Thank you.
And this was done through a competitive tender as well.
Okay.
And the rise was the low bid.
So how many bidders?
How many bidders?
Yeah.
We had actually 6 in this round. We had a first round on this phase 2 bidding, and we had a very poor response. We only received 3 bids. Again, our fiduciary duty is not only for the school department, but for OER to ensure we're getting optimal cost benefit ratios. It was too expensive. And I was more than happy, as I told them, given what they're providing to us, to rebid the project. We raised awareness in the community, and we had 3 more bidders join in. So we had 6 total bidders instead of 3, and the cost came down about 30%. And that put it well within the reach of OER making up the gap.
Interesting. Any other question? So I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I see that the new schools were not included in this, right?
Which,
New schools, those.
correct. The new schools are designed with the New England chips
Okay.
format. So they're high efficiency. They're coming also with dimmable lights, LEDs, and everything's the highest efficiency there. So this will generally match that level of performance on the lighting only.
Okay. So should be fine on those. And
It will be a big improvement. You know, there are times when we receive complaints about the lighting, people having issues with headaches or visual issues. This will basically eliminate that. What I've done with the control systems on the lighting is we have dimmable controls. A lot of the existing fluorescent LEDs are just digital. You turn it on, you turn it off, and you get the full power, or you get 70%, whatever it's pre-programmed. But if a teacher changes a classroom and they want to increase the light level, or they need to reduce it based on student needs also, they can do that with what we're doing. So we're getting more flexibility and more quality.
So I also looked at the place where you mentioned that there is no foreseeable incident across except that if we have to do something on the outside.
Yes.
So what does that translate to mean? Does that mean that that is embedded in this cost, or that would be additional cost?
That would be additional.
And that would be what we would not have to, district would have to procure.
Correct.
So we will be no cost at that point in time.
Well, let me explain that in a little more detail.
Right, please.
As those of you who have been around some of the schools at night, especially in the winter, it gets dark, and some of the schools are very poorly lit on the outside. So from a security factor around the school to prevent burglaries and break-ins, and from a safety factor for students and staff dismissing in the early evening or even nighttime activities such as the rec centers, we want to increase the lighting. Now, OER can't subsidize us making improvements, but on a case-by-case basis, which has been brought to my attention, we will look at those schools, and the most cost-effective time to add work is when someone is already working there and negotiate the lowest price possible. It would have to stand on its own. It would have to be presented to finance, and it would probably have to come here, depending on the size. But we looked at, for example, improving lighting, I believe at Mount Pleasant a year ago, and we held off, and we did because we didn't get approval to go forward. But I think that alone was $75,000 for lighting on the outside. And, you know, when I look at the fading green, I drive by it every night on the way home, and it's dark, and I don't think it's safe. So I personally would want to improve it.
Thank you so much. So what is the relationship between that and something we approved of recently, facility management that cost millions of dollars? There was, I don't know if you remember that, there was a facility maintenance.
The ABM contract.
The ABM contract. So now, if we have, I think it's a holistic approach that covers things like security like this. So now, if we have that situation like the 75,000 that you just mentioned, I believe that should have been part of the facilities management. Would that not create some kind of duplication? Let me put it that way.
No, it
I mean,
shouldn't. It shouldn't, because the way the FM contract.
You know what
I know exactly what you're saying. I would love to have them pay for everything and fix that. And I don't think that's the way the contract is written.
Okay.
However, I can still use their services to provide a competitive bid against what this contractor would provide as a quote also. And therefore give us at least 2 or 3 options there. And frankly, if it were large enough, I would put it out to bid anyway. But in this case, usually they're pretty small. You might add a half a dozen outdoor light bulb packs, they call them, to illuminate the space around the school. And those are not that expensive. It's just enough to, to question that we've done something competitive to make sure we're getting the maximum benefit from the money spent.
All right. The other question I have is, I'm looking at the details. I see some schools like $600,000. Then there's another school like just under 60,000. What determines? Is it the size of the school?
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
It's the size of the school, it's the complexity of the fixtures. The size of the school dictates the quantity of fixtures. So when you look at like Mount Pleasant High School, you compare that to a Sackett Street or Branch Avenue, which are just a fraction of the size. I think Branch Avenue is probably about a 30 or 40,000 square foot building. Mount Pleasant High School is several 100,000 square feet. So therefore the dollar value is significantly higher. And, depending on what else the building has for aesthetics, it raises complexities in hallways and classrooms. But everything will be replaced, fixtures will be replaced, unless the fixture that's there is of high quality and already at the latest technology in terms of efficiency.
So this is the first tranche, let me put it that way. So when do we expect the next 5 or 6 schools? When do we expect to?
We actually are already building that list,
Okay.
and we hope to be putting that bid out probably late summer in the fall, because this will take a little over a year to do. We're just finishing phase 1. We've got 1 school left on that. So as we get down to the point where it's very manageable, we see we're coming close to finaling the work, maybe in 3 months. We want to have the next bid out and then have that work on deck and ready to go. And part of it, of course, is timing. OER gets its funds from the state, and the timing is related to when their funds are available. But right now, their commitment is to keep going 100% full speed through as many schools as we can.
Okay, Kevin, this is my last question. I'm looking at the details as covering 2 fiscal years, FY24 and FY25.
Mhm.
So now this is budget, an amount that is spread over 2 fiscal years.
Mhm.
So how do we get a portion so that it will be fair, we portion what belongs to the FY24 to 24 and 25? How do we intend to do that? When we get to that level? How do we?
The concern there I would see is if we were paying this out of our budget,
Okay.
and we are not.
Mhm.
So we are basically passing invoicing through, we're passing the payments through. So to us, the impact is immaterial financially, and we should be in a very comfortable position on either side of the fiscal year.
Excellent. I'm almost there.
How many total schools need this upgrade?
So far, we're finishing the 4th and 5th school next, and this is 5 more, so we'll be up at 10.
Okay, and how many, like, in total needs the upgrade?
Well, what we're doing is we're trying to sidestep those that are coming on deck for bond improvements, so that will generally cover the lighting. The schools where they are not on there, we're gonna prioritize those based on the environment of the school, the quality of the lighting there, from a safety and a lighting quality standpoint for learning, because I'm all about trying to enhance the atmosphere for teaching and learning, and lighting definitely has an impact.
That's
And that's what prioritized these 5 schools? Was it just what you pointed to?
There's a couple things. There are some retrofits done in the schools already. I don't know that I would call the quality of that work to the level I'd like to see. So where we feel there may be concerns about the safety of those lighting fixtures someday, we want to get them out. So some of them are older, some of them aren't new, and you know, it's all about trying to get the environment done in the right way. And of course, right away you do remove the ones you know you're going to work on the next 2 or 3 years. Thing about Mount Pleasant I mentioned earlier, so I'll try to get to that question before it comes up. We don't know the scope of that work. We know it's either going to be some form of a hybrid, where a certain portion of the school, we're out there walking it 2 days ago with Downs Construction. What's going to remain? So that what remains, we then negotiate with, not negotiate, we know the pricing line by line, room by room for the whole project. That work which will go into construction and be removed, and that which will remain is what we will keep in the project.
Question, so Mount Pleasant, I believe we rebuilding Mount Pleasant, isn't that correct?
Correct.
So with them rebuilding Mount Pleasant, wouldn't the money that they're rebuilding it would cover the cost of the lighting, like it did for like Zarian, the Narducci Learning Center?
Right. Well, 3 very different approaches, right? Narducci was a complete, I'll say a shell restoration, as we call it, the construction industry. So everything internal, other than the support, keeping the building up, and the outside shell was basically removed. All the surfaces, all the wiring, all the systems, you know, sound systems, PA, clocks, HVAC, everything had to be replaced. And the lighting, of course, was part of that. It hadn't been used in, I don't know, 12 years maybe. The school was last open, so it had no maintenance. All the wiring, all the lighting had to go. So that was a complete gut, as they'll call it.
was also a fire in that.
Oh, yeah, they
building.
made campfires in there with the residents that were living in there. And, you know, you look at that school, and then you look at, the other one you mentioned was Kazarian. Kazarian's gonna be a tear down, so the building's gonna be gone. And not only that, that format and that structure wouldn't support a K-8 program. So the redesign is gonna be a tear it down, the students and staff at Kazarian will relocate to Narducci, which is where Pleasant View is now, and they'll get a brand new school, and therefore this would not fall into that. However, with the lighting under the bond and under construction, there are incentives that Rhode Island Energy offers, and general contractors are aware of that, and they leverage those wherever they can to reduce our cost on the bond.
Okay, so we have Mount Pleasant, you know, Mount Pleasant is gonna be, I don't get like the exact date when it's gonna be under construction, but
Probably
Yes,
2
tw-
years.
probably 2 years, okay. So with that being said, would Mount Pleasant be in fact a priority of getting the lighting fixed, knowing that in 2 years, they're gonna redo the school anyway?
Could be, that's the problem. See, if the decision on what is renovated and what is not final. They don't want to have OER invest money or Rhode Island Energy.
That
They're
makes
not going to want to
sense.
spend the money until they know.
Got it.
And we don't want to either. It's not fair to take advantage of that scenario, but it's more important that we do it, you know, in a fiscally responsible way
Correct.
for all parties. So
Correct.
we are waiting to work, I mean, that's being worked on now.
Mhm.
I mean, designs are being studied. There'll be future meetings and community meetings and sharing of, you know, what the options are and where that all goes, which is another whole world unto itself to make those decisions. Correct. But we're like a sidebar of that. It could even turn into, and the contractor knows this, it could be completely taken out of the picture. And that's fine, because again, everything remained cash neutral, no cost to us, no matter the scope, however it changes.
Now, when we talk about lighting, what exact kind of lighting are we talking about? Is it gonna have different sort of features? I know there's some lighting where you're able to turn it down, the brightness, be able to do different things with sort of the lighting. I want to know exactly how that is.
What we're looking at for controls, and I was trying to have a call on that this afternoon, the lighting we're putting in on these projects will allow adjustable light levels. So on the wall, in the wall switch, the teacher will be able to manipulate the light. There's programming that we can do, and we can set hallways to certain levels. We did that at Central. We walked it with the principal at Central High School, and he said, you know what, I like this level better, I like that one less, let's make them the same, and we did. So we try to make sure we're talking to the school leadership, making sure we're satisfying their needs. We also have to look at the impact on the teachers and the students and make sure that we are offering the capabilities for them to make adjustments within a certain range that's acceptable to all, and let them have the adjustments they want. We want them to be happy. We want them to be in the classroom and be positive, and this is not a detriment. This is a, hey, this is nice. We never had this before. And other lighting retrofits done in the past, they didn't do that. We're doing it now. We're doing it right.
Is there an image copy of the lighting that you guys have purchased the district? Like exactly what it looks like, the details of.
I can do better. I can take you out to existing work done.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Let's schedule that and do that. But I'm happy. I think this is definitely a need. Like you said, Mount Pleasant. I think that was my only question. But like you said, nothing's guaranteed. And if in fact, say they want to go forth and do Mount Pleasant, that would be something that they don't need to fix would be the lighting. So.
Right, it really is just what's the right thing to do.
Correct. Absolutely. I'm all set.
In terms of usage, what is the expected savings in kilowatts and the impact of carbon dioxide avoided with this new
In
lighting?
terms of the carbon footprint reduction
Yes.
and all those things,
Yes.
I would have to go back to the consultant that OER used. This individual does that as part of her work for OER because they're also capturing as part of their program
Correct.
kilowatt hour reduction.
Yes.
We look at it from an operational standpoint, the lowering of the energy consumption for us helps with a lot of other activities in the school that people aren't thinking of, but simple things, the size of the generator in the building, backup generator, that's impacted by the level of total usage in the building for its capacity. So there's all sorts of secondary benefits that you get when you reduce before you start to redesign. And so we reduce first, and then we go back, and then we make it more efficient, and we offer the flexibility, and again, it's all about the students and the staff. Want them happy.
I agree, and I think from my research too, as well, it impacts students' mental health, learning, and teaching properties. I think it's a great improvement. I have no other questions.
Neither do I, but I have a request, because I said I wasn't going to ask a question.
You make the rules here, so go right ahead.
So the request is that you said you were going to share some details. Is it in Excel format or is it something?
Yeah, I just made a couple copies just in case someone was curious about the evaluation or what all the bidders submitted.
Can we just
Take a
look
look
through
at that. I can send it digitally to Martha and distribute that.
That would need that?
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Oh, yes, yeah, yes.
Okay, so can you
Yes.
please send it to Martha?
I'll get it to Martha and she'll send it
So
out.
I'll have it ready for the next, yeah. All right, thank you so much for that.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome.
It was just one item and we spent a lot of time on it, but we get educated. This is good. So do we have a motion to recommend this passage?
So moved.
Second.
Section, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions, any oppositions, the ayes have it. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
that explanation. So motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So move.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions, any oppositions, ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terrell, when you're ready, reach out and I'm happy to take you out a little walk.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You could include me as
Yes, I
well,
will.
Cheryl, please.
Yes, we'll be there. Couple weeks from now.
Sounds good.
Thank you, boss.
Well,